Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. First, I just wanted to say, Arlene, thank you so much for being a presenter today. If you guys
Absolutely.
aren't familiar, Business Builders is something that we do for our membership. It's a member-to-member benefit. It's a way that we share our strengths, our resources, our knowledge. And Arlene, you are the Workplace Solutions Officer for BBVA, and you have a lot of resources to put back. So thank you. And you're going to be talking to us today about identity theft. So I just want to turn over to you and let you kind of take it from here. I know that you're used to presentation, so let us know when we can ask questions and when we can jump in. And for anybody else that isn't live right now, we are recording because there's lots of ways to get this information out. So thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much for inviting us to be a part of this. I work with the branch retail executive in the Alvin location, Cheryl, which I'll give her a moment to chat a little bit about herself and introduce her branch. But yes, I am a Workplace Solutions Officer in the Southeast Houston area. And what that means is I bring a Bank at Work program over to small, mid, large companies in financial literacy. I work with nonprofits, and I just pretty much do business development working with chambers. It's a great one at Alvin and Manville, which we've done a lot of great events in the area. So again, thank you for inviting us. With our financial education workshops, it's a series, or you can get one a la carte, so to speak, and it ranges from anything from banking basics, small business, or mortgages. And right now, you know, everything is about education, everything is about financial solutions as well. And that's what we want to do, is put forth solutions that not only you can be educated on, but that you can come back to BBVA and ask questions, such as the awesome branch retail executive, Cheryl. And Cheryl, I'll pass it over to you so that you can possibly state where you're located and what's going on in the Alvin branch.
Sure. We're at 2432 South Gordon here in Alvin. The branch has been here a really long time. We became BBVA in 2009. Formerly, we were Guaranty Bank. I've been with the banking financial industry through all these years, 35 years in August, and been a manager for 22. And I have a group of 6 employees plus myself that have a full service. We're a full service bank. We range from the checking, savings, and full lending, mortgage, auto. So we're a one-stop shop. So thanks for letting me do my mini commercial.
Great. And, you know, I as well have been a branch manager, worked in frontline staff for, you know, over 16 years. So but this is my passion. And if anyone knows me knows that I thoroughly enjoy providing educational workshops out to anyone. And BBVA just has a wonderful program that they're offering. So anything that you have, I always say my financial literacy workshops are about you all and what you can grab. So feel free. I know we have someone, Joanna, you're going to be managing chats. So if a chat does come in, if you want to chat in, do not hesitate to do so. I'm going to be asking Cheryl as well what it looks like on a frontline operation side. And, you know, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to chat it over. So, all right, so we can go ahead and get started. Okay, so, you know, as we start, if you've ever needed to open up a bank account, apply for benefits, travel by plane or by a car, which I'm sure we've all done one or multiple, such as even get married, rent a home, you're likely needing an identity card of some sort to prove who you are. And that identity card can be, you know, your driver's license, passport, a number of identifying resources, right? So right now you probably have several things that you can quickly grab to show as your identity. And we will be going through over how to protect that, because especially nowadays, if you think about it, our accessibility to sharing info is so wide in such as a wide range of opportunities and resources, to where some hackers or, people don't realize that if you're sharing this info, it could come back to you in a negative impact. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So as we start the workshop today, your identity is something very valuable. And if anyone has ever gone through this, can probably share definitely their horror stories on what they've gone through. And I'm here to provide you with some, tips possibly in how to avoid identity theft. So let's learn today in the workshop how to identify the signs of identity theft and fraud, examine different types of identity theft and fraud. We're going to identify strategies to protect yourself from identity theft and fraud, and then review the laws and regulations that protect consumers from identity theft and fraud. So once again, as we start this, I know people are logging in. Do not hesitate to chat in, to ask questions, or if it's something to where it really, really impacts you. This is your workshop. I'm here as a facilitator, but also I provide best tips and practices on what I've seen as a branch manager. And also I have my counterpart, Cheryl, here as a branch manager that can explain what she's seeing currently now in the branches related to identity theft and fraud. So it's valuable. Remember that your identity theft is valuable and it is yours. And as we are fast growing through technology, and that is even now, if you think about it, even after this pandemic, cash, a lot of people are talking about going cashless, right? Curbside, contactless. Those are key words that are being talked about. And so think about now how the steps you have to go towards to where your identity is protected. So what is identity? So it goes through first, the steps is to understand what all is out there that can definitely impact you, because if you don't understand, then it's definitely one of those things that you don't realize that you're providing your info out there. So you have your biographical data, your medical data, your biometric data, and financial data. And, as I spoke, as far as having interaction, start chatting in what you think biographical data is, biometric data, medical data, and financial data. I always like to hear what people think those are and what that means to them, right? So what makes up your identity? Identifying information is any documentation that is used to distinguish or identify you, right? So it's definitely personal. For instruction, we are grouping identifying information into 4 main groups, which are these groups here. So the biographical, the medical, biometric, and then the financial. And if you think about it, there's so much out there that you can place information, and you don't realize that by placing it out there, it can impact you and your identity, right? So, biographical information includes your name, place of birth, age, and so on. Medical information includes such things as health records, blood type, and prescriptions. Biometric data are the physical characteristics like your fingerprints, retinal images, voice signature, and facial geometric, which can be scanned by computers to confirm your identity. And we all have, every single time we can upgrade our phones, it's just getting more and more. And I think about this because you can start it out with a fingerprint, and now it's your facial recognition, and so forth and so on. So finally, financial data, which is a big one, includes bank accounts, payroll information. And so each one of us has a lot of information around this. And we put out a lot of information that we provide as well to organizations, if you think about it. Do you know what information about you on this list that you've shared out? So think about how often you're opening up an account or how often you're signing up for something and they're asking you for the following, right? Okay, next slide. So many people don't realize how much of their information is actually out there. Identity thieves can impersonate you just by knowing your name and address, or they can gain access to your credit cards or bank accounts using more sophisticated tools. Depending on the types of information you share on social media, they can even guess your password or your answers to security questions. And, I always have stop here and kind of have this conversation. A lot of people are so quick to share everything, their reunion, where they grew up, their groups that they're belonging to. And so all of that, if you really think about it, a thief or a hacker can really pin down a possible password. So that is one of those things that if you think about your passwords, how attached are they to your personal life, such as children's names, what street you grew up on, all of that. I know that companies, work companies, they're thinking of better questions or even around logins and passwords that they're having them very specific. They can't include a character, or they can't be, they have to be 7 letters long. They have to be a specific, they can't, very specific. And so you want to make sure that you put that as well in your personal with your passwords, because if you're just using a standard password and everybody knows the password, then that could open yourself up to identity theft and identity fraud. So as we see here, identity theft and identity fraud are terms used. Oh, can you go back? So identity fraud and identity theft can happen to anyone, but some people may be more at risk than others. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, men and women are equal targets at identity theft. Age can affect your chances of being victimized as well. Households with an annual income of $75,000 or higher are at greater risk. Okay, so before we move on, let's go back real quick. So just to really dive deep into what are the differences between identity theft and identity fraud, those are terms used to refer to all types of crimes in which some wrongfully obtain and use another person's personal data in some way. Identity fraud occurs when someone's personal information is used to access money, while identity theft is when personal information is accessed, even if it isn't used for financial gain. Okay, so this is when I'm gonna get Cheryl a little bit involved here. So Cheryl, if you wanna kind of unmute yourself. When an individual approaches you in the branch and they have stated, okay, I have identity theft, or someone has done something, hacked into my account, what are some certain steps that you immediately start talking to the clients?
First, we look to see at their account exactly what transactions they're talking about. We help them file what we call disputes against transactions that they are stating they did not do. Some cases, depending on how severe they are, we do ask them to file a police report. Is there a certain dollar figure
on the police report? Is there a certain dollar figure that you, if it's this amount that they're coming in to dispute, it has to be a police report? Or
not at all. It can be for any type of, if they think that their identity has been stolen, we definitely want them to have records that they didn't do whatever transactions at whatever amount. And then the bank, we have, all banks have policies and procedures in place to help be an advocate for the client so that we can help them get the money back, or, depending on how severe the case is, when we get the police involved, we do want to try to get all their funds back. or also find out who did it, you know, and see the bigger cases that the bank has taken on. They will pursue prosecution. They will help file charges, but on most of the cases we see in the branch level are on a smaller scale.
Yeah. Is it different between a debit card and a credit card?
Well, absolutely. Like the difference is if someone's debit card is compromised, then their whole account actually could be compromised and drained, depending on how fast the client figures out, hey, these transactions aren't mine. You know, all these items have cleared out of my bank account, which is their money that they use to spend for their, you know, pay their bills or their daily needs. So I always recommend, especially nowadays too, with the way we're doing business, is if you're going to shop or purchase things online, people are doing all these online purchases and curbside pickups, that you have a credit card, because on a credit card, all of your money isn't being depleted. It's the credit card company's money, although they're going to help you, or we would if it was a BBVA card, get, you know, those charges disputed, the card refunded, the fees refunded, but it's not draining all of your assets that are in a bank account as if your debit card was compromised.
And I agree, because I've seen it to where it's someone's credit card and, you know, we take on that and we kind of do the legwork for them, right? Whereas if it's a debit card, how are they paying their next bill? How are they getting food? How, you know, there's a couple of steps that we have to go through. We can't just quickly, you know, did they encounter fees, all of that. So it definitely could impact them differently compared to a debit card or a credit card. So that's a good point to bring up as well. Anything else you want to share before I move on as far as when a customer comes in and has to dispute?
We immediately, you know, verify their identity. They sit down with one of us, a banker, and we go through all the transactions with them to make sure that there's not any that they've missed. And, you know, our policy is to just to get it started so that we can help them. We immediately cancel that debit or credit card for, you know, first step. And then from there, we help them get their funds back.
Good. Excellent. Thank you. You can go to the next line. So let's take a moment to find out what is at risk. You know, it may seem basic to some, but I know even now with stimulus checks coming out, with, I mean, so much, as even Cheryl mentioned, with the increase in online shopping and all of that, it can be at risk, and not a lot of people realize that putting this out there, signing up for new things, can very much impact you. So as you see here, what's at risk: your social, your name, birthday, address, driver's license, passport, marriage, divorce records, insurance cards, so much info that's out there. Personal checks, you know, didn't think that people still do that, but guess what? Yeah, checks are still being ordered, checks are still being written out, dropped off at the mailboxes, and people, you know, stealing them, or, you know, email addresses. People will start getting emails, which I believe we go into a couple of examples as well, and you'll see. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So how do these thieves, how are they doing it? So they're stealing your identity and committing fraud. Let's take a look at a couple of scams here. So we have the phishing scam, we have telephone scam, and we have the elder fraud scam. So, you know, they are definitely common scams. I'm sure there's others as well, but let's take Cheryl, if you don't mind talking about this phishing scam as to how it impacts clients in the banking world out there.
Well, sure. That is through an email. So if you're not familiar with the entity that's emailing you, or you're getting emails from an unknown address, you would not want to complete or reply, because a lot of times they're trying to get you to enter information. They might say, oh, you are going to get a $50 gift card if you take this survey. And you start filling
Oh
all
my
that
gosh,
good
yes.
stuff out thinking, oh, wow, I'm going to get this $50 gift card, or
I want to go shopping.
right.
Yeah.
Those are, you want to just delete those. You do not want to reply to any entity that you're not familiar with.
Yeah. And, I even think about something as simple as losing your cell phone, or losing, leaving a handheld device behind and you lose it, which a lot of people know that this is our livelihood when we have our cell phones with us, can drum up a lot of data breaches, right? If these can view emails or messages, they can find out your full name, your birthday, your relationship status, anything and everything. They may also have access to other useful information, such as your home or work address, or information about your employer. We all put, who we work with, all of that on social media for how long. So much is out there, and we don't realize that we're sometimes the ones at fault, right? The phishing scams I have heard that have increased quite a bit, because what are people doing currently, and what have they been doing in the last 9 weeks? They've been at home, they've been on the internet, they've been signing up for things. Telephone scams, another one. I know through even working at BBVA and having to pivot my day-to-day functions, where I used to do outside events and be face-to-face, as I was working from home and doing calls, a lot of people were kind of taken back, saying, wait, why are you calling me? What is, so we as a bank has also had to discuss, hey, we're doing a wellness check-in, and to be very careful and mindful that this could be someone that thinks that this could be a telephone scam, and we have to, be upfront and say, hey, this is where I met you, this is where we're from, and all of that, and respect them. So are you seeing that, Cheryl, when you're speaking to people? Or I know you've been super busy with the business loans, so you're probably going, I have not called any customers, but have you seen, or even prior to this, when you call someone, there are steps that we take to make sure that they understand that we are BBVA and we work with them? Would you agree?
We're very transparent. We, immediately explain where we're located, who's calling, the reason we're calling. And if a client does not feel comfortable, then, we would just say, we're just here doing, like right now, wellness checks, making sure they don't need anything, or letting them know that we're still available. But they can always call us back. They can get the number off of their online banking. They can get the number off the mobile app, and if they feel better calling us back, then they know that they're speaking to someone in the branch.
Yeah. And, as individuals of, working out there, and now having to be at work from home, and having to safeguard information, as we see here, there's theft, dumpster diving, shoulder surfing. Maybe that's not having social distancing in place, right? That's not occurring much now, but it could. Skimming and phishing emails, all can be impactful. All are methods. The elder fraud scams, they definitely are some that just is heart-wrenching, because the elder, unfortunately, if you call them, they could feel, hey, this is my bank, this is them, they're telling me something, let me say yes, right? Have you seen an increase, or have you had to deal with an elder fraud scam in the branch, Cheryl?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, it does happen, and there's several different scenarios from the lottery scam seems to be a real popular one, where someone is getting a letter, and it'll be a fake cashier check in the letter telling them that they won the lottery, and giving them specific instructions to go to their bank and cash the check, and they can keep like $1,000 of it, but the rest has to be made in a cashier's check back to the company. And so there's all kinds of things out there, and usually if it's too good to be true, it really isn't true. So it's always a best practice to get with your financial institution and have them look over any documents or papers that come in that you have never seen or heard of before you actually try to do whatever is in the letter or the instructions.
Exactly. Yeah. And those are gut wrenching as well. Elder fraud scams as well as when I was a branch manager, I saw it one time was the family members. Unfortunately, maybe they've saved up a lot of money. They don't have this person on the account, and they come up and they're saying, well, they want to, invest in something. Let me go ahead and give it to them. And, those are definitely some that you have to be mindful, maybe call, someone else who's on the account, a beneficiary, something. What would you say, Cheryl, if an elder customer of yours comes in and they're wanting to withdraw $20,000 for, their nephew or or something? Have a little bit more conversation with them to ensure that it is for the right reason.
Absolutely. We would do that for any client when it's out of their normal course of business. We do try to, have them sit down with one of the bankers and, try to find out exactly what are they, trying to accomplish or what's going on. I mean, I've had to report elderly abuse cases before, so we kind of know what to look for. And it's usually when someone is doing something out of the normal course of business that it's a red flag to us.
Yeah, I agree on that. So once an identity theft has, a thief, has your personal information, what can he or she do with it? So if you want to go to the next slide, they can use your personal information to make purchases or open up accounts through the banking industry. My goodness, I've even seen it to where they go to different branches and they'll open up on one end, and then they're on the other side of Houston using, a different identity as well. And a number of things, even showing an ID that you can obviously see that it's not, theirs, but they have altered it for some rhyme or reason, right? So they are out there to make use of your information. They're making transactions, they're opening up new accounts, they're committing fraud, committing cyber crimes, getting prescriptions, receiving medical treatment. All of these are being used out there for identity thieves, and they're using your identity. And so what needs to happen is just, possibly you safeguarding more of your information so that it's not so widely available. And what steps can you do? Well, we're going to continue on and talk about that. So, they have stolen information on making transactions and opening up new accounts. Anything wild that you've seen in the branch, Cheryl, as where you obviously, or your staff obviously sees, this is not right, or you can catch it immediately. Have you seen it? I know I've seen it in the past.
Definitely. Over the years, there's all kinds of different things that we've caught. One is, I'm sure y'all have heard of the Felony Lane Gang. This is a huge criminal ring, and they're all over in all different states and areas. But what they do is they'll try to watch people getting out of their vehicles. And if you've left your purse in the car, or you put it in your trunk to go into a gym and work out, they will steal the whole purse. Then they'll steal like the credit cards and the driver's license of that individual. They'll try to go to the furthest lane in the bank's drive-through and pretend they're the customer. Really, the customer's information's been stolen, their credit cards, their ID, and they'll try to pretend, and they'll fill out withdrawal slips and try to get cash out of our customer's account. So we have all kinds of things that are in place so that we can try to deter situations like that. But that's just one of the worst ones.
That is, and I remember seeing on the news, even on gas. You mentioned, the door opening and all that. And, I remember telling my husband telling me, hey, when you put gas in the car, lock the, car, because who goes and takes their purse out to fill up gas and all that kind of stuff. So it is, you don't think about it, but people are opening up the doors when you're on the opposite side. How quickly can you get to them? You can't. So That is unfortunate. Always check and double check the source when anyone asks you for information linked to your financial and personal identity. That is such a big, why are you needing my information? No, I don't, need to give that to you, or I didn't apply for this loan. Why are you calling me to say, hey, you applied for this loan, I just need this information to confirm it so that I can approve it and follow through on it. And some people, unfortunately, get, the bait and switch on it, and luckily others say, no, I'm not going to give you that. So really think about that on those sources that are asking you for your personal information. Let's get into some tips and prevention on protection, but first let's take a in-depth look, so the next slide, at what these scams may look like and what the consequences may be. So in a survey by ID Theft Center, victims have said the following: I lost out on a job opportunity. Think about it. If you've lost out on a job opportunity, that could possibly cost you because credit is checked, right? And if your information has been stolen and they're out there opening up accounts and then they're not paying them and you're unaware, then that could possibly, impact you in a negative. I couldn't qualify for a home loan. Again, if you're first and foremost, anytime you're having a home loan application, it definitely is where payoff is good, opening up new accounts is not good, right? Do not do any of that until after the signing is commonly, the key thing. And if you couldn't qualify for a home loan, it could be a number of things. It could be that you have too many slow pays or delinquencies. And if you are not following up to say, hey, this isn't mine, and having to go through or going into your bank to dispute it, and it can impact you in a negative. So I had to rely on friends and family for assistance. And that one is just because the example, let's go back to the example Cheryl provided earlier, was on the consumer side. When you're disputing, if someone has hacked your account and it's on your main account of your debit card, you don't have any money. You don't have any liquid funds to be able to pay for life. So now you're having to involve your friends and family so that you could just have ends meet, right? So that is unfortunate to read. I had to request government assistance. I couldn't care for my family. I missed time from work. That's a big one, because if you are having to stop your daily activities to now deal with what has just occurred to you, you're having to file a police report, go to the branch and dispute it. I mean, you can't just call your bank and just say, or your financial institution, and just say, hey, these charges aren't mine. They need backup, and they need to know why, what's going on. So missing time from work, you're distracted. I had to borrow money to help with my expenses, another survey response, and I had to use my savings to pay for my expenses. So it can cost you time, money, reputation. Once your identity is stolen, depending on how many accounts and services you have, you'll need to contact each bank, change each password, notify all your credit card companies, everything. This process may take you up to one day, or it could last you for years and years. I know that a lot of people who have really severely been through this have put passwords on their credit reports so that if they are applying for something on credit, it pops up to where Equifax does not let that application go through until that credit password has been called in and all of that. So this statistic here, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, victims of identity theft lost an average of $1,300 in 2012 and 2014. Many victims were compensated for their losses, but the same report found that while some victims spent as little as $1 in out-of-pocket expenses, others spent $1,000. And even right now, you know, a lot of people are saying that they don't even have that $1,000 in a savings, or even up to $500. So think about, imagine that impact if you were impacted. Would you be able to pay your next bill, pay your car note, all of that, right? Once your identity is stolen, thieves may use it in ways that could negatively impact your credit score. Credit score and your financial reputation with businesses. Victims also report emotional after effects, such as being angry, resentful, trustful of organizations and people who request information. I know that if you have probably been through this, you pretty much have your guard up and you're saying, nope, I don't need that, or nope, I only know these types of accounts that I have. I don't want to, you know, open myself up to anything else. You can go to the next slide. So now that we know how thieves gain access to data, let's look at the inner workings of some common scams. Remember, these are just some of the more common scams that are out there. It's just, you know, we spoke about having some examples of some phishing emails, what it would look like. We have one here. It's obviously missing the I in the national bank, a generic greeting, unprofessional language. There's always some sort of grammar errors. And then, of course, a fake login page, again, missing the I. But if you're scanning your emails, this could really catch you to where you're saying, oh, hold on, who's this? Or, you know, maybe this is, I know a lot of people in the industry know that the, what was it, the Nigerian emails that were coming out, oh, why are you, you know, clicking on that, or just delete it? But it caught some, right? It caught some people to where they clicked on the link, or and then they're hacked into their information. So it is definitely about checking what you have, maybe deleting immediately, sending them to spam trash email so that your email can catch that. So just wanting to make sure there's not any questions or any chats coming in so that we can address them. I know I've covered a lot of great information. Joanna, just wanted to do a little temperature check with you to see if any chats have come in.
Gary's monitoring that, and I don't think he's had anything come in yet.
Okay. So also, you know, it is about how you're receiving the emails. I know a lot of people have certain types of email addresses. This email address I give to anyone and everyone. Other ones could be that they use it just for their professional life. So I think there's a chat that just came in. And are there any common scams found on social media to be aware of? So any common scams on social media? Social media is just as like Facebook or social media as well. Right now, the big one is the Zoom, right? When we started this new work from home, a lot of people were saying, well, you know, Zoom, you have to make sure that you're buying into it, maybe signing up with a password, so forth and so on. There was a lot of hackers that came in, and as people were doing their meetings, people were coming in and doing other inappropriate or writing on the screen so that you're seeing what else is being projected on the screen as instead of the actual presenter. Maybe songs over what they're presenting. So those are the big social media currently right now. TikTok is, you know, we have such a wide range of apps that can be good, but unfortunately everything always can turn into a negative. So TikTok is another one that I hear that can, if you sign up for TikTok, you can get hacked into for your information, and it can be used negatively. So they shy away from using TikTok, that app. It's a very big, if you're not aware of it, app entertainment app that a lot of kids are using. And it's scary because how are the kids signing up for the app they're using? Possibly if they're not using their email because they're old enough, they're using mom and dad's email, right? And that is your information because remember, it's attached to your phone. You know, of course, we have the Instagram. Instagram, I know just from personally using it, that sometimes you're messaged on social media through direct messaging or, you know, commenting. And if you don't have your privacy settings correct and really accepting it, then it could impact you negatively. So you can go to the next screen. You know, we've seen the lottery sweepstakes impact on a negative basis. And those are ones that Cheryl was talking about it just earlier, right? So here is a phone scam and talking about the lottery. Hello, Miss James, you are a lucky winner of the $1 million lottery. Congratulations. All we need from you is to verify your identity and social security number and provide us with details of your bank account where we can wire you the money. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but if you act now, we should be able to waive all the taxes on the amount. I have all the paperwork with me right here. Let's start with your social security number. Big red flag, right? As you can see here, there is big red flags, but unfortunately, you know, scammers know who to call and know that they could possibly get some information through on them. And just by mentioning sweepstakes or just by mentioning selected, you know, exclusively selected and, you know, asking for social, there's so many red flags here that not a lot of people realize that this could be negatively impacting your information, but some people fall for it. So most phone scammers are strangers who don't know the victim. However, some scam artists may be acquaintances, friends, or even family. Unfortunately, some people listen, you know, hey, this person is doing this. They're going to go make this deposit. Let me follow them. You know, it could be a wide range of things. So you can go to the next slide. On this, you know, seniors, if you take a look at the power of attorney scam here, that's the elder fraud scam. Many seniors may own assets such as houses or cars. They've worked so hard to have that paid off. They have retirement funds such as a 401k, or they have other benefits that can make them attractive targets for identity thieves. An identity thief may be a stranger who tries to befriend a senior or a professional. So it could be looked at as, you know, the caregiver, and or, you know, they can state, hey, I'm a long lost cousin of yours, or, you know, nephew or grandson, and they're targeting. They are there to target those seniors, and it's unfortunate. So in this example here, at 87, Mr. Ali lives alone in his house. His wife passed away 10 years ago. His children live in different states. Recently, he met a young man called Samir who said he was Mr. Ali's long-lost nephew. Samir quickly moved into Mr. Ali's house and helped with his daily chores. Mr. Ali was so grateful that he agreed to give Samir power of attorney so that he could manage the household finances. Unfortunately for Mr. Ali, Samir spent all of his money and put him in debt. You know, if you're signing over a power of attorney, it definitely needs to be a family conversation. But unfortunately, like in this example, even as dramatic as it may sound or be read, it's unfortunate. That's why we have the examples here, because it could possibly happen, right? There are lots of red flags on this one to watch out for. Watch out for unexpected, unwanted, or inappropriate purchases, like Cheryl mentioned as well. Is it out of the norm? Has the power of attorney holder used the senior's credit or debit card? Why are they needing that, right? Why are they coming in to make those cash withdrawals to buy things for the holder or purchaser through items that the senior may not need? And we all could spot it quickly, but unfortunately the senior there is not. Watch out for anyone new who has come into the senior's life. You know, if you're talking to your friends and family around you, really pick up and listen on, because it's out of the norm. So you can go to the next slide. So special cases of identity theft include child identity theft, medical identity theft, and tax identity theft. And these are, you know, thieves that target victims based on their available financial data and the ability to exploit it. In this section, we're going to take a look at these three types. So the children, it's their personal information. It may be used to open up accounts, to apply for things, use credit cards, and apply for social services on their behalf, but they're utilizing their information. And that's unfortunate because they haven't even grown up yet to even start that, right? I know that I have seen on credit reports that it could be a social of a deceased, right? So on the flip side, utilizing someone's social that they're not alive to obtain credit. Cheryl, has you seen anything on that, on the deceased or someone non-existent that has tried to open up an account or anything on your end? Come back to her. So I know I have seen that, and that could just be.
I was on mute. I'm sorry. Yes, okay. The bank has processes in place. So let's say you came in today and you opened a new account with us, and you did not have your Social Security card, but you know, a lot of people have their number memorized. You give us a number, we open the account. Well, within 24 hours, if that Social Security number is not valid for any reason, we get notification that we need to get a copy of the person's Social Security card provided to our fraud services department, or the account is immediately closed. So that stops all of that right there.
Wow. Wow. That's really something in place that could prevent anything, you know, any fraud to continue on. So that's good. The medical identity theft, on that, the thief can use your medical identity to access healthcare, get prescriptions, medication, or claim insurance benefits. So it definitely, you know, occurs. This is a high topic right now because of the medical, you know, claims, insurance, benefits, all of that. And if you're receiving a medical bill treatment that you didn't receive, you know, need to definitely dive deep into what it could possibly be. So once those thieves have access to your Social Security, it is open game. Tax identity theft is big. And, you know, a lot of people also had a whole rage with the stimulus check, and they went to a tax agency and prepared it, and they did those loans and all of that. I mean, it can range from so much of fraud out there, and the theft of your identity under the tax realm. So it's definitely one of those things that you have to set those preventative measures on knowing and being aware of. You can go to the next slide. So we had some earlier, some red flags on identity theft, you know, unusual charges on credit card or your financial account, unusual charges in credit report, and credit scores. Remember that you can get your score throughout the year to review. That's a best practice. So pay attention to these following red flags or identity theft, unusual calls from debtors, collection agencies, all of that, unusual bills for services or products that you have not used, or denial of services. Those should immediately give you a red flag that something is wrong. So go to the next slide. How can you protect yourself and your loved ones? So monitor your accounts, credit reports, and credit scores. Do not use public Wi-Fi to access sensitive information. Do not click unknown links or open unexpected or suspicious attachments. Secure important documents in a safe place, and cover the keypad when using an ATM. Use credit and identity monitoring services. So they're out there. I spoke about putting that score, or that code, so that if you are applying, it immediately makes you call it in, right? Use credit freezes and set up fraud alerts. All of those can be preventative measures. So if you want to go to the next slide. So direct participants, you can definitely take these steps after the identity theft occurs. Unfortunately, once it occurs, these steps will need to happen in order to start repairing, right, what has occurred. So collect information and review accounts. You got to report to the FDIC or fraud departments and law enforcement, and start repairing the damage, such as what we spoke about, going through your accounts, reviewing to see what is and isn't your charges. You can go to the next slide. It is a crime. There are consumer protection laws. Identity Theft and Assumption Deterrence Act of 1998 allowed us to have that in place. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, Fair Credit Reporting Act, all of these acts were placed in place, passed to protect us as the consumer, right? The Fair and Accuracy Credit Transactions Act of 2003 and Identity Theft Penalty Enhancement Act of 2004. So all of those are laws that we can have to make sure that us as consumers, we're protected. So next slide. So just remember, and unfortunately, if it does happen to you, there are steps there. Immediately go to your financial institution if it happens on your financial data. If it happens on your personal data, make sure that you are set in place to have your passwords at a high level so that your data is not taken. Social media is a big one, to where if you're sharing way too much information, that could be not good for you to share that information out. So remember, identity theft takes various forms and targets many types of people. Be aware of how you share your information. Continuously monitor your finances. Get to know what you have on your credit report, right? Protect your data using safe habits, such as regularly changing passwords. So that is it. I don't know if there's any questions or anything there. So just let me know, or if there's any chats coming in.
Arlene, I have a question. You
okay?
Protecting your data, safeguarding your passwords. How often should you change your passwords, and how do you protect it? Do you have a good method for keeping those?
Yeah. So there some in place 30 days. Like my job will make me change my password 30 days. Unfortunately, if it's your devices, it's up to you, right? So you have to make sure that you are going in and changing, because I know if I don't change my my personal devices, then it could stay the same way. So that's a really good. Social media, go in and change it. It's not going to remind you to change your password. It's not going to remind you, hey, you need to go in and change it. Debit card PIN numbers, maybe not, as often or as frequent. I don't know. That may be a good question for Cheryl to answer. Anything on debit cards or login on personal mobile devices. Cheryl, what would you say is the good best practice on changing passwords?
Well, on your debit card or your online banking or mobile devices, anytime you think that any family member or someone has seen your information I would change it. Now, a
That's
lot
good.
of people, if you keep your card and it's always on your person and you don't have any issues, I mean, it's hard enough for us to remember all the numbers that are in our head. So that could cause you more trouble than it's worth if you're going to change your numbers all the time. But I would
Yeah.
think anytime you feel like any compromised situation or someone's noticed you use your card or what have you, I would then definitely change if you have even the littlest indication that somebody may have seen your numbers or passwords or sign into your cell phone device, then go ahead and just do it as a safety precaution.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good question, actually, because I know our jobs force us to change our passwords, right? But on the personal aspect, if we don't change our social media passwords, Zuckerberg's not going to send us a reminder to say, hey, you've used your same password. And a lot of people use automatic login to where they're not even dealing with that password change or anything like that. So it is a good best practice to get in there and, if you're not doing it twice a year, do it once a year. Or like Cheryl stated, if you feel someone has your information, go in and change it. Just go in and change it. So.
Yeah, and change everything if there's any indication that someone's been watching you or you have one little thing happen out of the ordinary. It might be time to just go ahead and change all your passwords to all of your different items.
Yeah. So. Well, that's identity theft. It definitely was a great chance to share with everyone, preventative measures and takeaways. Feel free to, reach out. I don't know if you have our information out. You can reach out to Cheryl or myself. Cheryl provided her information in the beginning. I don't know, Joanna, if you are going to provide the information on the link of the recording. You can definitely, if anyone has any questions, they do not have to hesitate to ask.
We'll definitely share your information, the branch's location. We appreciate you guys just being here to offer resources to the community. Identity theft, it's not going away, but thank you so much for giving us resources.
Absolutely. It was our pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great day.
You too.